Do perimenopause symptoms and menopause symptoms require medication? No, they don't. There's lots of natural remedies you can try if you're feeling the symptoms of perimenopause, and that's what we're talking about today. Subscribe and hit the bell to be notified for weekly videos on perimenopause, getting off the hormone roller coaster, and feeling like yourself again. I'm Dr. Shelley Meyer, and I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the channel. If this is your first time, welcome and thanks for joining us. I talk about hormone balance and getting off the hormone roller coaster. I'm a registered dietitian, I'm a functional medicine physician, and I'm a family medicine physician. So I work with patients every day and women every day on balancing their hormones. And a particular interest of mine is perimenopause, the years anywhere between the late 30s to the early 50s when your hormones are kind of going a little crazy and your symptoms are confusing, and it's called puberty in reverse. In fact, I talked about that last week, so check out last week's video. But today we are focusing on how we can potentially help some of those symptoms without necessarily having medication. So there's some natural and lifestyle and exercise and diet things, as well as natural remedies we can do to help our symptoms. So let's do that. What can you do to get off the hormone roller coaster without medications? So some of the symptoms, as I've talked about in a lot of my other videos, and I will link my What is Perimenopause video here above. But some of the symptoms are heavy bleeding, erratic bleeding, spotting in between periods, irritability, mood changes, sleep problems, night sweats, hot flashes, anxiety, skin changes, acne, itchy skin, rashes. There's a lot of them, but we're just going to cover a few of the natural remedies today. So let's explore some options that can help some of these major symptoms. Not all of them. There's not usually one thing that's going to help all of them, but some of the major, more common kind of symptoms that women have. So we can't move on without talking about exercise. I know it sounds simple, that exercise could be a solution, but it really is. So they've done studies that exercise has been proven to help the mood changes, fight the natural weight gain that happens in perimenopause, and help you sleep better, as well as help you maintain muscle mass and healthy bones. So we want to do all those things during perimenopause and before we hit menopause for sure. So is there a type of exercise that helps more than others? Well, there's limited studies on that in particular, but when we look at how different exercises affect our hormone balance, we can kind of get ideas from that. So one thing you want to consider avoiding, particularly if you're having weight gain, and the more you exercise, the more weight you gain, which can happen, is so you want to avoid long durations of exercise. So let's say, for example, I trained for a half marathon last year, hadn't trained for any kind of distance running in quite a few years, in my late 40s, and I gained weight, and not all of it was muscle. So that's just one example. Like that can stress, any kind of exercise can stress your cortisol. So when you're going through these hormone shifts, as I talked about in last week's video, your cortisol can be stressed from the changes in the estrogen and progesterone and from the lack of sleep and all of that. So if you're stressing it through distance running or really, really intense workouts that are longer than 45 minutes, depends on the person, but the woman. But anyway, if you find you're gaining weight when you're doing longer amounts of exercise, then try shortening it. And if you're not exercising now, try to just do shorter amounts of exercise, 20 to 35 minutes, 5 to 7 days a week of cardiovascular exercise, like running, walking. What really helps is like high intensity interval training. And I'll put some examples of some videos down there to kind of get you an idea of what that means, but that's kind of short version of it, is mixing your really high intensity, getting the heart rate really high, cardio, with lower intensity, and then mixing it up so that you're on and off again. And that can help your metabolism a lot. You can do that through, walking really fast and then walking slower, and then running fast and running slower, running fast and walking. You can do it with a lot of different types of exercises. Strength training is really, really important because you do want those bones to be healthy. You want the muscles around those bones to be attaching and to be supporting as best those bones as they can. And then also you want to, build your metabolism, because the natural changes that are happening in perimenopause are kind of fighting against a healthy metabolism. So the more muscle you have, the higher your metabolism. So you do need to do some strength training. I know a lot of women that think it's all about the cardio because they feel like that burns the most calories, but not really. I mean, it can, but like it's not all about the cardio. You should add strength training in there, and you should do it 2 or 3 times a week, working all major body parts. Now let's shift gears into some other natural remedies. Black cohosh is talked about a lot, and there are a lot of studies on black cohosh that it can support estrogen balance and help mood, help hot flashes and night sweats. More so hot flashes than night sweats. Should everybody be on black cohosh? No. Some women say it doesn't work for them, so you could give it a try and see if it does work. You always want to talk about it with your provider. Some women are concerned because of an estrogenic effect of black cohosh, and they may have a history of breast cancer or a family history. Well, some studies have actually shown that it can reduce breast cancer. But you do, again, I'm not your doctor. This is not medical advice. I do want you to talk to your provider about that because I don't know you or your individual risks. It's available in liquid or capsule form. The amount that's been studied in most of the studies is between 20 and 40 milligrams a day. And like I said, it can help with mood and hot flashes and sleep. So that's really important. I do have some brands I prefer, and I will put some links down below to them, some affiliate links. And I don't necessarily have sorry, my camera's shaking. I don't necessarily have a financial link with them, but they're Amazon affiliate links to help the channel and keep the channel growing and keeping me being able to make these videos. So between 20 and 40 is mostly studied. There are other doses that go up to 120 milligrams, and those can be safe if they're good brands. So that's why I want you to make sure you're choosing a brand that tests to make sure they don't have any contaminants in them and that they have a standardized amount that they're supposed to have. So I will put some ideas down below. Now, have you tried black cohosh? Let me know in the comments down below if you've tried that and if it worked for you, because I meet some women that say it works and then some women that say it doesn't work at all. So another one that doesn't get talked about a lot is called pine bark extract. In French Maritime, it can also be called pine bark. So that's been studied in Japan and Taiwan. There have been some US studies as well. And that women that took the pine bark extract reported a 35.1% improvement in their vasomotor symptoms. So that means like in their hot flashes and even night sweats too, compared to women in the placebo. And well, 28.6 women in the placebo, 35.1 in the French Maritime or pine bark extract study. So you see there's not, there was some improvement in placebo, and we see that with placebo some studies sometimes too. But they also found that it helped their sleep problems, and that's a huge thing that I hear from women, is they have a lot of sleep problems, and that's one of my major symptoms with my perimenopause that I've been through. So it also helped women's mood and their energy levels. So that's something to consider because that's multiple different symptoms that it's helping. I'm sorry if this video makes you sick from the shaking. Oh, goodness. Okay. And the researchers found no difference between the two groups in terms of abnormal, like changes in like irritability, anxiety, dizziness, or muscular pain or headaches. So just keep in mind it didn't help all the symptoms. It also didn't help libido. Now, black cohosh doesn't necessarily help libido either, but it can sometimes. Just side note, a lot of times when I see libido problems, I make sure we check testosterone because that can change in perimenopause. So you do want to get that and DHEA checked. Which brings me to check out the PDF that I have down below. So the PDF's not actually down below. What you do is you click on the link, you go to my website, you sign up for my email subscriber list, and I don't spam you with tons of emails. I don't send very many out actually. And then you can have access to all the PDFs that I've made. And some of them are about gut health, hormone health, but there's definitely the one that I've been talking about lately about perimenopause symptoms and solutions and things you can talk to your doctor about and labs to get checked out with your doctor. So the amount that was used with the pine bark extract was 60 milligrams in most studies. The study in Taiwan was as high as 200 milligrams, but I don't find that you need to use that high of a dose usually. Now let's go back to some lifestyle changes you can do. So diet changes, yes, they can make a difference. So what I would usually tell women when they're in the first few stages of perimenopause, which is when the estrogen is surging high and the estrogen is surging high and the progesterone's dropping. I usually want every woman, and even when you make that transition into menopause, this helps too, to be low sugar. So try to avoid any added sugars, only eat natural sugars from fruits and keep those down to a couple servings a day. Avoid processed carbs, flour, anything from flour like pasta, crackers, breads, cookies, all that fun stuff, baked goods that people like to eat. And also in the US, we eat a lot of pasta, we eat a lot of rice, we eat a lot of processed kind of carbs that can shoot our blood sugar up and then also make us gain weight more easily when we're in perimenopause. So low sugar, low processed carbs, high fiber. So 30 to 35 grams of fiber, not carbs, with a blend of insoluble and soluble fiber can be very helpful. I already said that. Low processed carbs, high fiber, low alcohol. That was the other thing I was going to say. So we want to keep alcohol to a minimum. I've talked about that a lot when I've talked about estrogen dominance. So keeping it to 0 to up to like 3 drinks a week is what I recommend. And particularly when you're in the earlier stages 1, 2, and 3 of perimenopause. As you progress through these later stages, then when you get like in that last year before you have your last period, when you have the hot flashes and the night sweats, you may want to switch more then to your protein being a more plant-based protein. So soy, if you tolerate it, if you're not allergic to it, if you don't have any oppositions to taking it or eating it, it would be the non-GMO organic soy. Tofu, tempeh, those kind of things can be helpful. But beans, they're high in fiber, so their carb effect is not as high as other carbs for most people, and they are a plant-based protein, nuts and seeds. So switching more to a plant-based diet, maybe having some meat. I'm a vegetarian, so I didn't have to make that switch, but having some meat and some animal protein if you need to, but more plant-based, the closer you get to menopause, can be supportive. So what about things that aren't herbs and that aren't medications? They're not pharmaceutical type synthetic medications, and not exercise or diet. Well, what do you think I'm talking about? Bioidentical hormone replacement. Not everybody wants to do this. Some people do not want to take estrogen or progesterone, and that's fine. You don't have to take those. But if you have tried other things and you're feeling severe symptoms or desperate, or you are interested in optimizing those natural hormones, you can check that out with your provider, see if you're a good candidate for that. Typically in perimenopause, we start with progesterone if we use bioidenticals, and then as you get closer and you're into menopause, we start to use estrogen. But that's something to talk to your provider about, but that is something to consider. That is natural, because we're not using those fake estrogens and progesterones. At least functional medicine doctors are not, and most regular docs are not anymore either. So thank you so much for joining me. Check out the PDF down below to get your copy of, check out the link for the PDF down below where you sign up at my email, at my website, and you get an email, and then you have access to all the PDFs. So there's lots of great things about hormone health and gut health, but this one in particular about perimenopause, signs, symptoms, and blood tests to talk to your doctor about is very helpful. If you're interested in these topics with perimenopause, join me in the Dr. Shelley Meyer Mighty Network, and the group that you want to join is called Reclaim Your Hormone Health. There's a link down below for that, as well as the affiliate links for recommended supplements that I've checked out and I feel comfortable with people using, as long as you've talked about it with your provider. So join us every Friday where we talk about getting off the hormone roller coaster and feeling like the best version of you again. Thanks so much. I'll see you next week.